We good? Call the meeting to order in accordance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act, Section 30-4-80E, South Carolina Code 1987 as amended. All in the immediate area have been notified of the date, time, location, and agenda of our meeting. We'll have our prayer by Ms. Gore, followed by the pledge with Mr. Jeffords.
Let us bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, as we gather for this board meeting on tonight, we invite your presence to be here among us. Grant us clarity of thought, unity of purpose, and wisdom in our decisions. May our discussions be guided by truth, and may our actions reflect a desire to serve our students and community. Bless each member with strength, patience, and understanding, and may peace fill this room. In your name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And Dr. Ferguson, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, so we are going to start tonight with our facilities plan. So I'm going to invite Eddie up to get our presentation going, and Joel and Cecilia are going to walk us through some updates and where we are on some projects.
Good afternoon, or good evening. That's what it's evening at this point in time. Obviously, I think you guys are pretty familiar with our architect and contractors. So I'm going to pass this over quickly to Joel and Cecilia and Bart and Owens.
Mr. Schuler, we do,
Mr. Schuler?
I don't know.
we do appreciate it, Madam Chair, Dr. Ferguson, members of the board. We thank y'all for this opportunity to be with you tonight. We also are looking forward to just showing you some things that you've seen before, other things that may be a little bit newer. And again, we're just going to go over. It's a nice school, by the way, right there. I just thought about that. But anyway, we're going to look at tonight just a review of a new elementary school in the Darlington area. What we're looking at there is putting it on the Darlington County Institute of Technology site. We were looking at the paid site, and the more we got looking at it, the more investigation we did, we realized that the wetlands come up much further onto that site than we ever anticipated that it did. And then the other thing that DOT, when we got them out to look at it, they said, we just do not feel this is a good site for you because of the proximity to the interchange. And to try to get decel, acceleration lanes, et cetera, there off of that site, it just was not working for us. And we, with the existing school there, it was creating too many issues to try to get temporary drives in and out. And then ultimately also the permanent drives that we're going to put in were going to be a problem. So we started looking at other sites, and Darlington County Institute of Technology and the middle school site looked to be a very good, viable site. And we're going to show you some ideas there that we have. We're also going to look at Spalding Middle School. And we're looking at placing that on the Lamar Spalding Elementary School site, and there's room there, and we'll show you some ideas we have on that. And then just kind of reviewing again Hartsville High School. You've seen that. We've got a little bit more information for you on that, and I'll just kind of give you a brief introduction there. And I'm sorry, again, Joel Carter and Cecilia Nelson with Mingham Mellon Hasden Smith, and then Bart Cease and Owen Cease with EdCon Construction that are here with you this evening.
So now we're going to look at the new elementary school in the Darlington area. We go to the next. Yes. So this is the Darlington Middle School and DCIT site. You can see the middle school and DCIT here in green, and the wetlands in the darker green color, which we had to stay away from. In orange, we are proposing a new elementary school. That is the exact footprint of Black Creek Elementary School. As if we move forward, we will look at the program and we will adjust. It might not be exactly that. We will work on the specific needs of that school. Everything in black, all the roads are existing, and all the roads in white are proposed new. If we locate the school in this area, we would have to relocate the bus parking facility. We understand that's a portable building, so we would have to move it and recreate the parking for that area. The parent drive for the new elementary school would be off of Pinedale Drive. We're showing a lot of stacking. We will show a shortcut eventually so that after peak hours, parents, visitors coming in would not have to do the whole loop. They would just cut across and there would be an entrance to the parking. The bus drive is also off of Pinedale Drive. The bus drive would be for buses going to all 3 of the schools. The original bus drive, or the existing one right now, is shown here in dashed lines. We are proposing the possibility of moving it further north because we were discussing with Dr. Ferguson and Mr. Schuler that in the future there might be a need to expand the DCIT. So we wanted to leave some room here. If we had to expand the DCIT with bay classrooms, we would grow in this direction. If we had to expand with regular size classrooms, we would expand in this direction and rework these drives. But this would allow us some flexibility in the future. So from this drive, we would go to the bus drop-off of the new elementary school, the bus parking, the DCIT, and the Darlington Middle School. Go to the next. This is just a close-up. Here you can see the footprint of the school, and in this lighter color and this lighter color are possible future expansions. These would be regular-sized classrooms. I'm showing 7 regular-sized classrooms with a group restroom, and over here for kindergarten classrooms. Kindergarten classrooms are bigger. They have they have an individual restroom and workroom and a casework area. That's why these 4 look bigger almost than these 8 little squares. Black Creek has an extra kindergarten loop, so we're showing that here it might not be needed. That would go away in the future if that's not required. Let's go to the next one. And this is a close-up of the other section of the site. We were discussing with Mr. Schuler and Dr. Ferguson that there is a stacking issue right now for the middle school. So we were proposing, as parents come off of Pinedale Drive, having a roundabout during peak hours, during drop-off and pickup, that would divert the traffic to create more stacking, another roundabout that would allow you to go into the 6th grade loop, and then to drop off a 6th grader, and then come over here and drop off a 7th or 8th grader. There'd be probably some fences or blocking during the peak hours, but they would be removed during regular hours so that a parent or a visitor coming would just cut across and go directly. They wouldn't have to do this whole loop. If we find, once we do traffic studies, that this is not enough, we could bring it even further. I mean, this side is very flexible, it's very big, and we could create more stacking as required. Am I missing anything on this, Joe?
And just so that we say too, the Darlington Middle School site is located in the Pate-Brockington attendance zone. So that location is in the attendance zone for those 2 schools.
We actually, or I said we, Owen actually flew a drone, and we got some shots during peak times to see. Actually, you didn't fly that drone, did you? It would have crashed. But anyway, it was interesting to see how the traffic pattern back up and all worked there. So we did a little bit of research on that, but as Cecilia said, we'll also need to get a traffic impact study or traffic analysis.
Yeah, they're all the way backed up to that proposed traffic circle beside 151.
Yeah.
They are all the way looped into there and going back the other way every morning on my way to
Which
work.
is interesting because I'm not sure how you come in and
They
turn
come in and
around.
turn left. I don't know what they're
You see
doing.
them.
I think they do a U-turn.
They
and
are
six-
all the way that way and going back the
Yeah.
other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we think this, regardless, this is probably not a bad solution to consider, even if the elementary school finds another site. So,
And if we could permanently just close off that, because unless we had to have, because that entrance right there got blocked, we blocked it.
Correct.
Very beginning, yeah.
But just because it was too unsafe for people taking left turns out of there. And so we eventually just,
And probably, This has to, our traffic study is gonna tell us that too. And so that may just be a part of this, so we'll know more.
How far is that actually from the current Pate building and the current Brockington building? Do we know?
A mile and a half.
It's not, it's a mile, like as the crow flies, it's really close.
Okay.
But you are coming up 52, getting on 15, so it's,
151.
So parents are not, gonna- I
151.
mean, they're not driving way out of the, like, plus if they're
How
going
many
to the middle school,
students
it'd be
are there?
nice.
Middle and whole.
Place.
So,
7 minutes.
yeah, so right now, what you have at Brockington and Pate is roughly 706 students. And then probably what we would design for in that school would be somewhere, a couple of extra classrooms, maybe somewhere, and again, we'll have to get programmatically with the district, but anyway, probably somewhere around 725 to 745, a couple of extra classrooms there. And then the core facility would be very similar to Kane and also Black Creek, and would be right at that 850 range.
So we could add.
So yeah, so
Another 100 or so.
that's where Cecilia was
What
talking
she was
about.
talking about,
Eddie, if
yeah.
we could back up one slide. Yeah, that's where Cecilia was talking about,
Down
these
here.
additions that could be added here.
on the road.
And again, like she said, we're not sure programmatically if this drive makes sense or not right now. It just depends on the age students and at Black Creek, we had a lot of special needs children, and so that drive made sense. It may or may not be up first, and we'll just have to do a little more.
So normally when you build a new school, you pick up some students, right? A lot of times.
You do. That's
So why
right.
wouldn't you go ahead and bill for 775 or whatever while you're doing it?
Probably, we will do that. We'll look at that and just see how that is. We don't want to open it up with a lot of extra classrooms, but even Black Creek right now does have a couple of extra classrooms
Yeah.
available.
Because the core is 850.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that could easily push up or down. The reality is your kitchen area, it's big enough, you can feed 1,000 students easily in there, or, anywhere from 600 to 1,000. The size really won't change.
Okay.
So that's where your capacity is. And then the PE area, the cafeteria, size of it, I think everything at this school now, it was modified slightly, even the media center from Kane, to give a little bit more room in here. All right, so, looking at Spalding Middle School and how we may look at placing that on the Lamar Spalding Elementary School site. And again, the property is just available, and so we've got land. This side over here is pretty much used by the elementary school, so we do have this area over here. And the next slide will show how we're looking at utilizing that. One thing that we're trying to do is utilize some of the same facilities for a portion of it. So if we think about the kitchen and cafeteria are two very expensive spaces to build. So rather than trying to duplicate that, coming back over here and utilizing that cafeteria. Right now, the cafeteria is also the PE area. So if we could take that PE area out, then the cafeteria is much larger. And that accommodates the elementary school students, so now they should be able to have 2 seatings and get those children in and out. And then we would also be able to come in then with 1 seating for the middle school students, so that everybody can utilize that one amenity there. The gymnasium, again, we got to talk to you guys more, but right now what we're kind of thinking about is having that as a gymnatorium, so that you have a stage area. That way you can have functions, not only here on this stage, but also there in the gym area. We would have locker rooms in that gymnasium, and then also we would have an admin guidance that would be here. We currently have the square footage in here for a small media center for those roughly 200 and that first, and I'm trying to remember what that is. If it's 229. I was thinking it was 230. So roughly 230 students that we have there in that school. So the media center wouldn't have to be huge for that. But anyway, that would accommodate that. And then we also have plans for expansions both at the elementary school and middle school. We also have room by redirecting these drives slightly. We have room now to put athletic field. Right now, we're not thinking that that's lit, but it could be, we could have lights out there, and that would give the high school even another area for practice if needed, if we went that route. So those are just some things there that we're thinking about.
And Joe, why not the high school?
So the high school, what we're trying to do there, our thought process there is rather than adding on this element to the high school, leaving high school available for future additions or possibly even a new high school. There's enough acreage there on the front when we go two-story that we could put a new high school there in the future. And so that's kind of why we're trying to protect that piece of property there for the high school. And we could do that. We actually have investigated doing this similar situation at the high school. But right now, the thought process with the previous administration was that maybe we wait and try to preserve that property for a new high school there in Lamar.
So that would be a competition gym, they will be able to play their basketball
Yeah,
games there.
Good point, Mr. Jefferson, because we're thinking that this would, our design philosophy, our firm's design philosophy is when they get to middle school, those students are competing. And so it's a wood floor, it would have all the amenities. One thing that we would look at is, do you want a standard 84-foot floor for the typical high school? Most high schools now are going 94-foot, which is the collegiate size. I don't know, and we can discuss that. That's 10 more feet in that gym area to go from the 84 to 94. That would give also your high school students a 94-foot court to practice on. We wouldn't probably have seating in there for the high school students, but at least would give them that 94-foot court if they wanted to do that. And again, that's some of the programmatic items that we'll have to look at and talk to you guys about.
And Jim, we also talked about the availability to put a platform in that gym.
Yeah, stage area, we discussed that, so we could get that stage, that gymnatorium type of thing, so that, again, that would give not only opportunities if you had activities going on at the same time, both at the elementary and the middle school, but also if you had a larger event, you could possibly put them in the gymnasium and utilize that for various concerts, plays, etc.
So how many kids at the Lamar Spalding right now, elementary school?
229.
Oh, I thought that was.
Oh, the elementary school.
Oh, sorry,
Uh,
middle school.
5 something, right?
That's right at 5.
Yeah, I want to say it was right at 504, 506. I believe it was 496. I didn't,
Roughly 500.
yeah, right at 500.
So at Black Creek Elementary right now, what time do they start lunch and what time do they finish? I mean, how long, that's about what they have out there, right? I'm just wondering how long it takes to feed. I mean, I just, not like, so
660, 670.
less.
So
I'm just,
they have like more, they got like, 670, 80 students.
my
Big
concern is
rooms
just
still
feeding
have
all those
some-
people. I mean, because you had to keep keeping the elementary and the middle school kids separate, but feeding them all.
So,
And during normal hours and not the weird lunch hours, like 10:30 in the morning. I mean, you know.
So that gym
So I
will be
will
used by
share, like-
both schools, is that correct?
Okay.
Yes, correct. Because when we take, currently the cafeteria portion is utilized for
We'll make
PE.
it larger.
So we take that out.
So you're going
And it's
to make
very
the
simple.
cafeteria larger.
That's right, cafeteria increases.
Right.
And that's exactly what we're doing over at
Yeah, we
the,
still said two seatings
Bay
for
Road.
elementary.
How long does it take to run through one seating?
so at the, both middle schools, Hartsfield Middle and Darlington Middle Schools, they have 3 lunches, one per grade level, and each grade level is 300 plus students. So, I mean, you're looking at 35 minutes, 40 minutes, that you could run 300 plus
Well, not too
students.
bad.
so again, that would be one seating that we would have for the middle school here, and you split that up with the size of the elementary school. Your smaller children may take a little bit longer, but you can also, if you do the math, You can also get those, kindergartners, first grade, and maybe even the second grade in there at one time. And then third, fourth, and fifth, which are a little bit larger in population typically in classroom areas, they can also go into second seating, and then that leaves your middle school. And like Mr. Schuler said, that's typically you have 3 seatings there at the middle school. So the timing should work out for those.
Wasn't there some just question about not being on the site in town? What are your feelings about that?
Yeah, when we have the meetings on March 10th, we'll have some feedback. I know there'll be some pushback moving it from the current area.
And on the numbers side of that, that doubles the cost. And so
Right.
if this costs 20 million, it costs 50 million to build a standalone middle school where it is.
For 300
Kids.
Yeah.
kids.
And I wondered, because I don't know, but I think about Spalding Elementary and Spalding Middle School being on the same campus before we built the new Lamar Elementary. And that's a very small cafeteria, so I wonder how they did lunch then. I know they didn't have the K2 because Lamar was separate, but or Spalding Elementary and Spalding Middle.
They use the same cafeteria.
They used to do that
Yeah.
before. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
When would the middle school ever cross paths with the elementary school? Because that's the place
So the way we
parents
got
get that concern.
Yeah,
With
the
the
way we
older
got
kids
the-
with kindergartners.
the gymnasium placed, these children, it's just a matter of scheduling, but they would be able to utilize this gym. We would have a quarter taking the bigger students out to the athletic fields, et cetera. But we would anticipate the PE locker rooms, et cetera, being on this side, that stage area being over here, so it's a little closer proximity. But those children would come in, we could have a divider curtain that would allow 2 classes from the elementary school to utilize that gym area at the same time. And again, that's just a scheduling type of thing.
But on a regular basis, the only true crossover would be at entry and exit
Entry and exit, and then that would be also down here with the,
with the buses.
with the bus, well, with the buses. But really, the hours that the buses deliver the middle school students is different from the elementary.
Okay.
So the only other time would be,
Because elementary starts at 7:30, middle school at 8:15.
Yeah, they won't have access to the elementary school per se, the middle school. You don't, because you're gonna hear it. We'll hear that, I promise you. Yeah. Heard it last time.
interesting, we toured a school in Greenville that our new firm did a few weeks ago, and Lori Long and I went up there, and it was a K-8 school, but they had, I think 700 students in the elementary, and it was almost 800 students in the elementary, and right at 500 in the middle. I believe my numbers, maybe it's 400, you're right, 1,200 students. But anyway, they utilize the same media center too. And they start out, and Dr. Royster said the way they did this is they started out with the elementary school, and then they built the middle school. But the bottom line was the students that kind of staggered through also went through the middle school. So they were used to being around small children. And it was really interesting in how they worked that. They crossed over a little bit in the cafeteria and the media center. But he said if we would do it again, he would probably have 2 cafeterias for the timing, so they wouldn't have to start so early in the morning dining.
But that's for about
1,200 students. That's a lot.
1,200 kids.
That's right.
I mean,
Kids.
yeah.
Much larger school.
So what happens if the feedback is, no, we're not gonna support that? You gonna convince them?
We gotta listen, I mean,
I think we gotta listen, and then it'll be up to the board to decide,
what we do.
you know, how we move forward with that, and is it worth the additional funds to keep it where it is, or does the high school make more sense, knowing that landlocks the high school for future expansion?
See, I don't know that we have enough room over there anyway to build one. Have you looked at that lot beside Spalding? To the left, if you're facing Spalding, there's a field to the left of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's room. Plus you got traffic and all worry about there too. I don't know if DOT will even approve it.
But
So-
what's the cost for, how is it double the price?
Because you got to build a cafeteria.
Cafeteria.
Oh,
Yeah.
cafeteria, okay, I got you.
All the
And the
infrastructure.
land work piece, because a lot of the site work, I mean, you've got to change it, but a lot of that site work was done when we built the new elementary school.
Yeah, but that footprint, I mean, that's still gonna have site work, right?
If you're starting from scratch with like retention ponds, you'll have to.
A lot of that
all
infrastructure's
will have
already
to be
there.
done, all the storm drainage will have to be new, whereas we're able to utilize a lot of that in this design, which is a huge cost savings. The site development cost is one of the larger costs that we see on projects, period. And so this idea helps us reduce that site development because you've already paid that site development.
Yeah.
And it's
I
a
wasn't thinking
large
about that,
site
like the
already.
Retention ponds and the.
Yep.
and
You think
even
about the size of the retention
DOT
ponds.
work on the road, probably, I mean,
Yes.
yeah.
We did a
That's-
lot of DOT work on the
Yes.
roads
Right.
out there.
That's already done also.
So
Yeah.
that's already done.
I mean, we've already disrupted the neighbors.
But was there a different entrance? I don't remember. Or was it the same entrance?
It's
Yeah,
the same
Eddie,
entrance.
could you go
It's
back?
the
one
same
more?
entrance, go back one?
Yes, it's just utilizing the
So it's the
same.
same entrance, so that, none of this changed. Where we really changed things, Leanne, was this used to come in and come up this way and around, and we've kind of relocated this and utilized the land that you have, and that allows us to get that athletic field in there.
So those two entrances are already there.
Correct, both of these, the bus entry and the,
Does Spalding Middle have an athletic, do they have a football field they use now?
It's in town, like across the street.
Right across, yeah, right across the street from them.
But it's not walk out from the building.
Well,
It's across the
walk
street.
across the street.
They walk across the street.
Across the street.
Just walk across the road.
What's the gym situation?
They have a
It's a decent gym. I mean,
it's old,
yeah, it's old, but it's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
I know one of the requests as we've been starting budget meetings is, there was a request to redo that gym. So if we do this, we wouldn't do that, but it's getting where it needs some updating.
So that gym
Particularly
would
the
be
floor.
you said competition, just for the middle school, but you were talking
Right.
about building the court, the length, so
It-
that the high school
that's an
might have.
option. That's an
okay,
option,
I got you,
yeah.
but they would be able to play basketball in that gym.
correct, oh,
yeah.
yeah.
They'd have a high school size court either way. They could have up
That's
to a
right.
college level
Gotcha.
court.
And then just to kind of recap, y'all, you've seen the Hartsville High School on the Kelly County site, but just, again, some things to think about. We feel like we have plenty of parking now. We added parking here, and then also a little bit up here. And then we also added this parking that's really more of an events type parking for, we would think it would be more visitors, but it would still provide that. Again, fire access roads would be on all sides of the site now, providing EMS and fire activity. Tennis courts, softball, practice field, baseball would stay, stadium. Now, with the stadium, we're planning on putting this track around the stadium, which would mean we would need to pull the bleachers out to provide room, and also the field house and the concessions and visitors, or excuse me, concessions and patron toilets that we have here. So those
How are we
would
gonna
have to
move
be
that field
expanded out.
house?
I'm sorry?
How are we gonna move that field house?
You're gonna have to tear it down and build it. Yeah. So, yeah,
How about we use, moving is not the right word.
that's right.
Demo and replace.
Now, we understand also that I think, Dr. Ferguson, you're talking to the Recreation Commission about continuing to utilize that track that you've got there. And if we did that, we could save a tremendous amount of money just on that stadium alone.
You talking about at Byerly? No.
Yeah.
That is so unsafe.
I don't think it's big enough.
It costs
The
$16 million.
center
to do
isn't
that
big
track.
enough for the extra.
There,
Mhm.
I don't care.
So that's a regulation
Pay
track
$16 million.
here.
Yeah, I'm talking about.
Oh,
I think
I
that's
don't
the
know.
issue.
I don't
What
know.
now?
I don't think it's large enough to have the
It-
events.
The field events are difficult.
Yeah.
You have the finish line where the shot putters are throwing.
Yeah, that's why we haven't been able to host meets.
Could you not put a track where that practice field is at the top left corner?
If you look at the size of that track, it just will not fit. And we even looked at trying to get it down here, but then it really ate up too much parking.
Well, I know the track in Lamar is around the practice field.
Correct.
But there's not enough room.
No, like I say, that track, it's a 400-meter track is, if you look at that, and you try to put it there, it just doesn't fit. But you're right, the way you're thinking is if we could do that, then all of these other amenities stay there.
Right.
We don't have to touch the
Renovate the
stadium,
field.
but it's just simply not enough room.
We've tried shoehorning lots of different ways, and unfortunately, that's where we
Won't do
landed. Yeah, yes, sir.
One of the things we also look at was we wanted to provide you with a little bit of imagery about maybe what a new high school looks like, some of the amenities they have, et cetera. So we'll just kind of go through some slides of some of our projects that we've done.
Yeah, so just to have an idea of what a two-story high school could look like, this is a school we built in the past. You can see the secured entry, the two-story classroom wing on the left, and the one-story admin on the right. This has a contemporary color palette with the gray brick, and we also use the stacked stone and the wood. This is a secured entry in a high school. You can see there's more space, more height, the natural materials and natural light. We have display cases and also digital displays on the right.
Was there a separate section, because we were just talking about this for the high school the other day, about, there was a separate entrance, like a kind of a little holding area? on
Yes.
that? Yeah, there was, okay.
So if we go back one, Mr. Sure. So this whole area right here is kind of a holding area.
Oh.
Right beyond me is a glass wall, and we're actually looking at that design very similar to what you have at Darlington High School. And with this big open area, but they have glass here that either directs you into the office area or on this side over the guidance area. So you have that opportunity.
It's really not very different in the way it works from Black Creek Elementary School. It's just at a larger scale because it's a larger school. But you come in, you can go to the admin, and you can't go directly into the rest of the school. You have to go through admin to then access the rest of the school. This works much the same way.
When we look at it, how, we circulate on 2 floors, we like to think about natural light. We want to flood this area. We want it to be a bright area. We don't want a stairwell that's going to encourage bullying, encourage, any other activities like that. We want to keep things open, light, an area for collaboration. Again, a lot of visibility, and we just feel very strongly about flooding these areas with natural light where we have circulation occurring. When we think about science labs and the opportunities for students, in this particular lab, we actually went to talk to some local industry and saw what they were using. We also looked at our higher ed, and these snorkel hoods were what one of the local pharmaceutical companies were using for in their labs, et cetera. So this gives these students the opportunity to either go directly out into the workplace or prepares them also for higher education, and just an innovative way to look at that.
When we plan our media centers, we want our spaces to be open and flexible so that through the years they can change and adapt. Our bookcases can move around and accommodate book fairs. There's also plenty of natural light, and we always want to give the opportunity to access a secured courtyard so the students can take their work outside. This is that same media center looking in the other direction. In this one, it was a two-story school, so we created a loft area where students could do their more quiet reading, and underneath are higher bookcases. Another media center, you can see how all these bookcases are movable. They periodically move them around. Again, they accommodate book fairs, and this school also had a secured courtyard. You can see how this area is really safe. The learning environment can be extended to the exterior. The cafeteria, this cafeteria had a platform where they can do small performances, not a stage, just for small performances, also for supervision, outdoor dining in the secured courtyard. Another cafeteria, you can see how the corridor opens directly into the cafeteria. This one was completely open. And behind us would be the serving line, and ahead of us is a small cafe that we designed for this school. And this is a close-up of this cafe. It came in very handy during COVID. Students would come here and get their grab-and-go lunches and just head back to the outside or their classrooms.
We designed that actually it was occupied in 2019, so COVID hit right the next spring. And we just all hit ourselves in the head after this was done, because the school said, hey, it works so great, this cafeteria, because with bag lunch, the kids come in, they grab it, they go back either back to a classroom or go outside. And it was really exciting to hear that. And we like to take credit for that, but not COVID. Gymnasiums, when we think about the gymnasium, in this case, this was up in the Spartanburg area, in Bowling Springs. And we were working with grades there, but the opportunity is there, even with a two-story school, to have this upper platform where you can enter and filter, or from the lower area to filter from the bottom up. This was an intermediate area that we had, and again with structure, et cetera, for this court. This was a 94-foot court here, and it allows for that collegiate type play. And these high school student athletes, they're 1 year away from being there in college. So it gives them that opportunity for that competition. In this case, what we did was we actually went to Fort Collins, Colorado to look at Fossil Ridge High School. And they had some amenities there that we felt like almost got it right, but not quite. We put a big bay door in between the competition gym and the PE gym. And there's another one over here. So in inclement weather, student athletes don't like it, but the coaches love it, because now we've got pretty much an interior track that they can practice on, train on, et cetera. So, and it's just, we've got to have two gymnasiums anyway. Why don't we design this so that it can be utilized in a way that would really benefit the student athletes for this? So anyway, we took this, a little bit of their ideas, which they had a wrestling room in the middle of all this. We said it just doesn't make sense. What if we open that up? And so anyway, we got that idea and we played with it a little bit and opened that up, and we've utilized that on two different high schools now, and it really works here. The coaches love it. Like, I don't know about student athletes, but anyway, the coaches love it. And then one thing I forgot to mention on the Kellytown site, we have a courtyard similar to this, and art rooms, media center, the cafeteria all filter out on this secure courtyard so that they can utilize this with, again, wireless overlay. It becomes really an outdoor learning space. In addition to that, we have in this case, the little amphitheater that works really well for small performances, even during lunch. Nice days, they'll come out and they may have a string quartet. They may have someone with a jazz guitar, whatever it may be, and they play out there, and it's pretty neat to see this. They also have that opportunity to do that in the cafeteria too, on that one stage that we showed. We actually went to a middle school, one of ours, and it was pretty impressive because they had the string quartet playing as the students entered.
Yeah, so we created a main commons with, I don't have that image. We created a main commons with a small platform And we didn't plan for this, but years later, we went back and we heard that the orchestra teacher, when he had morning duty, he would get 3 or 4 students to show up early, and they would be playing live music as the students were coming in, which I
This
thought
is
was
calm
amazing.
the students, and said it was amazing, and how it did. So anyway, something else. And then we always think about how our buildings are utilized at night. You know, we think about light, security, et cetera. And this is that cafeteria again, and that they use for a lot of different functions. But again, being able to utilize that in a safe, secure environment. So those are, Dr. Ferguson, just some ideas, you know, just some images that we had on different projects that we had have worked on and have designed.
Yeah. So thank you.
Questions? Good.
Is there, I do have one. I mean, Kellytown's kind of a tight, we're in a tight situation there. Are we gonna need, or would be preferred if we got some buffer land behind it? Or is that wetlands, or what is potentially?
So we, Ms. Astor, we have not done a lot of study on this because adjacent property is, of course, you don't own it, but in looking at aerials, it appears that this may be wetlands. This is where the drainage area is for the site. But this area maybe is wetlands. Of course, the rest of it is farmland that you have out here. You know, there's a nice road right there. Could you get that? I mean, I mean, do you need it? No. Would it be nice to have? Yeah.
Okay.
So when you say it, but you know, when you say it's tight, like what are we, it's not gonna feel tight
No.
when you're there, right?
No,
I mean, you've got a lot of parking there, it's a 2-story building, would it, I mean, or maybe, I guess I'm not stating that, I'm asking, will it feel?
Well, you can see, we're pretty much filling up every square inch of the site. What we're gonna have to do also is, what you don't see here is detention ponds. And so what we're gonna have to do, and this is a cost associated with this site, we would have to utilize underground detention on playfields, maybe even in parking areas. And that means we detain the water in lack of a better term, vaults up underneath these drives, et cetera. And we've done that on numerous sites. I mean, numerous sites. Land value is something that's just, to purchase more land, you may not be able to get it. But anyway, that's one way that we utilize that underground storage is detention, detaining that water before we release it from the site. So again, we've got numerous sites with utilizing that. So
Is
it's
there-
not uncommon.
So it's more of an expense initially, but what about maintenance of things like that? Does it
Maintenance,
become-
long-term, you do need to go in periodically. As a matter of fact, at River Bluff High School, they just went in this past summer and hired a company to basically vacuum out silt, sediment, et cetera, that gets in there over time. And you think, well, heck, everything's, you know, asphalt or you know, grass, but it does get soil or dirt in there, even from the cars coming in and out. I mean, you look at some of the trucks, they have mud all over them,
But
and
your
it rains, and that goes into these systems.
But your trade-off is you're not cutting ponds
Right.
everywhere else. I mean, think about your sites, how much time you spent cutting those ponds. You don't do that, so
Yeah.
that money then flips over to that, and it's much less. But to your point about the openness of it, really look at that, 3/4 of that site is going to be flat spaces that are open to everything. It's only that upper quarter that's gonna have the building on. So I mean, I think it's gonna feel very open as you walk through it. Similar, kind of reminds me on a larger scale of Blue Street. If you walked out there, you know, you've got all those fields, lots of activity, but it's very open and it doesn't feel confining at all. And I think you're gonna feel the same thing here.
One other thing I forgot to mention is these classrooms up top are all future expansion. We're showing this with everything designed in there, so that's actually.
So the
actually
core of the
future.
building will be what?
The core of the building, right now, we're looking at roughly 1,200 students, which is, I think right now you've got 1141, I think, is what you
Core
have.
is 1,400.
14, I'm sorry, yeah. The core is 1,400, yeah. 1140 is what you currently have. We'd probably look at the initial design capacity of around 1,200, 1,250, and again, in that range. We'll need to get more information from you folks on that to really make that determination. But yeah, 1,600 students will be where we would.
So okay, so there is room for future expansion, but that's showing with the
That is-
future expansion.
Yeah, that is showing
expansion.
that future expansion that we would have basically from these lines right here back.
Okay.
Those practice fields, are those turf fields or what?
We'll talk to you about that, but right now you do have that as a turf field, and so that takes a lot of abuse. It would be nice to have one other field. We've got probably band practice here that allows you JV, varsity, and especially when you think about the different football, soccer, all of the different activities and sports. The nice thing about the turf field is you can utilize it. It'd take a lot of wear and tear.
Yeah.
And there's the beauty. Somebody asked us one time, they said, how do we justify that? And I said, well, you really can't. The cost, it's more expensive than a grass turf field, even when you consider the lawn maintenance, the fertilizer, et cetera. But what you can't put a price tag on is at the end of the football season, you've got bare spots. When you get about halfway through soccer season, they're playing on dirt. And that's the advantage of that. And you think about the injuries, et cetera, that occur when they're playing on basically dirt.
Joel, now that that's back up, talk a little bit more about that courtyard and how everything dumps into
Oh,
it.
Bart, excellent point. So here, we got the cafeteria. Service for that cafeteria is back here, so that's kind of behind the building. We've got this courtyard then, we've got the cafeteria that comes out on it. The gymnasium can come out on it. We've got art rooms, et cetera, that come out on it. And also the media center. Media center spells out on this area. So it's we anticipate that to be a very vibrant, usable type space, secure, and that we would have fencing that would secure that area from intruders, et cetera. So it's a pretty neat space, and we think that'll be a real gem for the school itself.
Where's the main entrance to the school?
Main entrance would be, jump on this side. The main entrance would be right here. And again, we got a lot more design to do on this. I mean, this is, we put a lot of things together to kind of come up with this. And then you would have, Cecile,
Okay.
but you would have entry for your gymnasium and those gym lobbies, and it would be one lobby for both of those gymnasiums, kind of in this area. Again, we think about that natural light for the students, keeping it bright and airy, and all of that all of those types of amenities would be there. We would also have a secondary entry that you could come off of here, but really that would be your main entry for that gym, would be there.
Will that gym be the equivalent of the arena that we currently have?
It would probably, if we think about how we hook these two gyms together to have that running track, and that's something that you may say, we don't need that. And if you do, then we could certainly look at doing the arena like you have, because it's a very unique design, and just, we show that one quite a good bit. I mean, it's just.
What would be the plans for the current arena?
I think we would have to talk to the city and local stakeholders to see. But that would be up to the board to decide on this site.
That's
It's a beautiful
a
gym.
beautiful
It's a
facility.
beautiful gym. Too bad they can't take it over there to the Darlington High School.
Can we move
They
it?
could use-
Can we
they
pick it up and move
definitely
it?
use the gym.
I think it's exciting. So what we're going to present to our communities.
Andy, you are the perfect segue.
Okay,
So thank
perfect.
you.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Real quick,
this moment to throw away my trash, so it doesn't have to sit on the table.
So, this slide kind of talks through our process for asking the community for their feedback. So we will start March 10th, 17th, and 19th with the community meetings. We will also begin engaging with civic, faith, and business leaders to share what the plan is and ask for feedback as well, and that will happen from March to May. We've already started that process with our legislators meeting. We've talked to Kiwanis, I believe. I will be at Lions Club tomorrow, but Audrey has been working every chance we get to talk to any civic organization, faith, or business organization for the lunches. We are signing ourselves up to go talk about these. This is the facility study. This is the recommendations from the experts. What did we miss? What do you like instead? How can we improve on this? And that would take us through May, listening and learning. That April-June time is really to start saying, this is what we've heard from the community. This is what they liked. They really didn't like something, and we need to go back to the drawing board and consider that. And then also really dig into the finances and have a very detailed financial plan for how we pay for this. And then we would, once we have that, we would talk through the decide together phase of this, which is, we all know that these are not inexpensive investments, and so we will have to have a referendum in order to afford this. And so that would take place between August and November. If we are going to have a referendum this November, we would have to vote on that question at our August board meeting, approve those, and then that would put it on the ballot in November. That's when we really have to be quiet and let the Vote Yes committee work through the persuasion, if any, on that. But we can provide the facts and answer factual questions. And then if we are successful in a referendum, if we decide to go forward with that, December onward, we could hit the ground running with these facilities plans. And we, are doing as much as we can up front to be able to hit the ground running, but there are certain things, obviously, we can't do before we decide for sure on these projects and the voters have approved that for us to move forward.
Do we have, so when you're going out to the community, the 10th, 17th, and 19th, I'm assuming you're kind of trying to, well, first of all, are architects and construction folks going to be able to be at those meetings?
I don't think they're.
Or we're doing those totally?
We're doing those.
Okay. So
we'll be using many of the slides that they used today.
That's
for
what I was.
that. And then our idea, we're still working on our presentations for that, but our presentations, Chris and Audrey are working on a video to be able to go inside the buildings that we currently have and show what we want to replace them with. It also will talk about how this board has been working on a facilities plan for many years, and we have been able to update the average age of our buildings, and this is the next phase of that. So it puts these projects in the context of our for elementary schools and the middle schools and DCIT to say we've been working on these for many, many years. And then it's also soliciting their feedback from, this is what the experts looked at, this is what they recommend, these are some visuals that show that, this is some possibility for what it could look like. Here what are some ideas around the site plan. What have we missed? What do you wish you saw that you don't currently see? And then we move forward from there.
Okay. So you guys will be able to share some pictures to inspire people what it could be, what they could have, and then some of the anticipating some of their questions ahead of time, like like we were saying with the Spalding being like the younger kids with the older kids, and some of those things that we were asking, trying to anticipate some of that and being proactive about that in the presentations. Okay.
Any other questions about this process? I couldn't decide on the visual, so this is another slide, but listen and learn, engage and align, study the plan, decide together, build with accountability. So that's kind of laying out our next year in this process. There are a lot of very technical deadlines about when publications have to happen and when the question has to be voted on that's in a more technical document. But this is the overall process.
At what point will we start building our Say Yes committee?
I think once we get past the March 19th community meeting, that's when we really will start seeing whether or not this is something that our voters want and will support. And through those, we could start building that committee out.
Remind me, I'm sure you've told me this before, but remind me, if we are successful in the referendum and we move forward, when will these communities start to see these schools be? When will we be able to break ground, and how soon will students be occupying these buildings?
Mandy, I have that in the back of my head because I've seen some timeline for it, but we have been really working to do as much of the pre-work that we can without going too far, and then, not being able to pass a referendum, to be able to hit that very soon after, because there's that balance of, you can do so much that sets you up to move fast, but you don't want to do too much that if the voters don't approve it.
Yeah, we've wasted a bunch of money, a bunch of the taxpayers' money on stuff that we're not gonna be able to do.
But I think that.
Just a general idea, maybe. Like
No,
within
I think
3
we
years,
take one step at a
within,
time.
Yeah, I would
I'm just-
say, Joe.
people are gonna
keep me
ask. I'm
honest,
just curious.
Like January, February to start, we will be breaking ground in January.
this coming January.
If we pass it in November,
Pass it in November.
that we will be
On some of the
moving
projects,
on
yeah.
some of the projects.
Yeah.
Can all three be
In our past
constructed at the
referendums,
same time?
Well, we probably will think about that a little bit, Mr. Jefferson, because what we don't want to do is overload the market. We think, and then that makes prices go up because we're having to bring people in from so far out. A couple of things there. One is, as Dr. Ferguson said, we don't want to get too far out front. Like, for instance, a new high school. It's going to take us close to a year to design that high school. And it is that technical. So can we do it a little bit faster? Sure. Would we like a little more time? Sure. But we've got to look at that. We also want to think about the start time. We know it's going to take probably close to 30 months to build that high school. So we think about that. Now, then we look at, okay, well, we want school to start in August of some year. So now let's look from that August date, and now let's back up on that timeline to see where we are. And so those are some of the things that, when we think about the design, the construction process, all of that. the
I just want to
permitting
give our constituents a realistic
Right.
vision of what their, to what their expectation
And
is.
the elementary school is more of an easier on-ramp, just because of the site location, and the fact that we're using footprint is very similar. There's still work that these guys have to do, but it's, a lot of the bones are already there, whereas the high school, they're starting from scratch. And even the middle school, they're starting from scratch there's concepts they can use, but, I would think, like what we said, the elementary school would be the first one that you see happening, and possibly some athletic stuff at the Kellytown site could be happening as well, concurrently with that. And then as the athletics start winding down, then the high school itself would start. But to Joel's point, it's 8 to 12 months easy worth of design on a facility such as that high school.
So elementary and middle would be probably more like sooner, and then
Right.
the high school would be. Okay. Because people are going to ask.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just-
a good question. And we're trying to find the balance between how much can we do up front before a referendum, how much should we do up front before a referendum and that passes.
Absolutely, I completely agree. Yeah, we don't need to get too far into it and waste a lot of money. That's not going to be. But, some basic understanding is helpful, so thank you.
How does this referendum line up with the last one y'all did, as far as money?
The high school is significantly more than the elementary schools. I mean, hundreds, 800. $50 million more.
But as far as we know, the 1 cent sales tax would take care of this referendum, right?
We are working through that analysis, but the current, and I'm looking at Renee to keep me honest on this, but they've been compiling our numbers depending on getting a final number on these projects, because that could shift with folks saying we want it here versus there, we want this versus that. But if we are where we think we are right now, then we could do it without raising taxes, is the preliminary analysis, but we will come and do a really deep dive on the financials of that as we get down the
So
Mm-hmm.
road.
how does that work? How, you get all, I mean, you get money along, or you get, where does, I've
Well,
never
and
asked for
I think that it is, this, currently, we are doing a lot, not a lot, we are doing bonds every year to do maintenance on buildings. And so as we do this, if we do that, we will not be able to do those bonds annually for the same amount. Those would take the place. This would take the place of that.
We would still do an annual bond, but they wouldn't be as large and they would overlap. And like, we sat down with our financial advisors and come up with a plan. And right now, depending on, like you said, what the total cost is, right now, we don't think we would have to raise the millage at all on the debt service millage until maybe year 6 or 7.
But I mean, we could
And-
keep going with construction without running out of money.
Yeah, and we would issue bond anticipation notes, so you have this bond approved, but you don't need all that money until 3 years down, so you issue a bond anticipation note, you pay that off. And like Mr. Jeffers said, when the sales tax comes, when it closes out, if it were to be renewed, we probably wouldn't have to raise taxes at all. But if it doesn't, then we might look at having to raise the millage down the road.
We're gonna have some of that information in March to talk about.
I was planning on bringing that to y'all likely in April, after we get past
Well, what do we
the
tell them in
community
March when
meetings.
they say, well, how much is this gonna cost us?
I think we can say that, what we are proposing costs X. If you have different ideas or want something different, then that's gonna cost Y.
Like, are we
That's
telling
what
them
we have to
X, like, we're gonna tell them it's $200 million, or we're gonna say X, like, if we do this responsibly, we may not, we hope not to have to raise taxes.
I think we have to
It-
tell them both of those things, that like if we right now were to go out for a referendum for $225 million, we would not have to raise taxes if we kept the penny sales tax when it was expiring. If we come back and we say we need $250 million because we have to have Spalding Middle School on its current site, that's not the same amount, and so that might require a tax.
Well, that's what I
increase.
think is important when we have these community meetings, is to help them understand that, yes, like, there are trade-offs.
Correct.
Not just, and it's not a trade-off Darlington versus Hartsville versus Lamar, like, within the community, like, there are trade-offs. Like, we could do it this way or we could do it that way, if, we're trying to keep from raising your taxes.
And, like as another example is, at student advisory the other week, I was at Hartsville High School and we were talking about it. And they're like, we really would like a new swimming pool. Well, to add a swimming pool onto this, that's, $10 million more probably.
At
And so
least
like,
probably
that's
more than
not
that.
necessarily something, you can ask for that, but is it worth a tax increase? To your point.
Yeah, that's what I think is exactly that. Like, when they say, well, but we need this, you can say, okay, well, that may require a tax increase. We're, and we're weighing all those options. We hear you, we'll put it into the plan, but we're trying to weigh what's most responsible for our community.
I think the last part of the slide just sums it up. We want to build with accountability.
Mhm.
Right.
And I think we are going to squeeze out as much as we can with the least amount of impact that we,
Yep, absolutely.
But our goal should be to build with accountability.
And I think, I think we just need to be very, I think we have a history of that, this board, before I was here. has a
We've done
history
that
of
in the
that.
past, so I don't,
So yeah, I think,
Should
I
be
love the
different.
idea of showing them, explaining this, how it's part of a bigger picture, and that we've been very fiscally responsible to this point, which is what has put us in, you know, where we're at. And we can continue, if we continue to do that, then it's, you know, more new schools and more improvements going forward, because there's even more we have planned. If you look at the longer term, we have even more we would like to do. And we have to be able to do that. So I think trying to tell that story is
I think
really
part of that story
important.
is also including Black Creek, because we were able to build the Black Creek without raising any taxes.
Mhm.
I mean, that was,
Yeah,
so,
we were not doing that.
I mean, that's, we've shown fiscal responsibility, you know, in trying to implement this plan. It's just this one, we cannot build a high school without a
Absolutely.
referendum. And it would be another 10-plus years before we probably could afford to build another elementary
At least,
school.
and then we wouldn't be building anything else for a long time either.
Right.
Like,
So-
you wouldn't be doing anything else for the rest of the county for a long time, because we're trying to, you know, it's like trying to, you know, just trying to save all that, yeah, so. I think just helping people understand that, is really useful, because,
If
you know,
you
we.
make it simple and make it plain, that the people can understand.
Mhm.
Just be transparent and accountable and tell them what we're trying to do and how we're trying to get there, and I think they'll understand and accept it. Don't put too much jargon in it, because it make it difficult for them, because we're dealing with community people.
I'm just hoping they show up.
Well, and also, you know, I know you had mentioned, like, you're going out to some of the civic clubs and stuff. If people want us to come to their organizations and
We're going
talk
anywhere
about
we're
these
invited.
things, if people invite
We-
us,
at
we're
the
willing
last
to be
work
there.
session, we had a list. We were given a list of all the organizations that we were going to be reaching out to.
Right, we may be reaching out to some, but if there's some that if we don't reach out to somebody, you know, and they want us to come and we haven't reached out to them, you know.
Please let us know.
Yeah, let us know, and we'll come and share with your organization. I mean, we may, you know, apologize ahead of time if we miss somebody that wants us to be there, but, you know, make sure, you know, you let us know that you want us to be there.
And Audrey has put these dates out for the community meetings. I think News and Press has run a news article. I know that we are also going to be reaching out to families through our social media. I'm going, for example, to Peyton Brockington to talk about this new plan, because this is new, and many of the folks in the room would not know about that change, because we had the best intentions to be able to build it on the Pate site, but when we started doing our due diligence, DOT pointed out that that was not an option. And so that's why we had to shift, and we want to be upfront and transparent about that, because as we do more of this and find out more, there may be other shifts that have to happen, and as soon as we know it, we want to be able to communicate that.
What about going out to, like, this Spalding, the elementary school and middle school parent organizations, or, you know, there in Lamar, and same for Hartsville High School, talking with parents at the middle school too, because it's really the middle school parents that are gonna,
Well, and that
Be
is that
impacted by
March
this.
10th, March 17th, 19th is proactively reaching out to all
Yeah,
of them
that's
and
true.
say, please come to this community meeting and sit in the building, sit in the room, we want your
and
feedback.
the principals are promoting it and all that kind of stuff with their parents.
and I'll talk to the mayor of Lamar, make sure she gets
Yeah.
people there that she wants.
I was gonna
And-
say,
and
what about the
Audrey has
city
been
councils
to-
and county council? and all
Audrey
the
and Chris
councils?
have
Okay.
been to all, are working on, going to all the
Two
city
more left.
councils
Okay,
and the county council coming up to do public comment at the beginning to say, we are having these meetings, here's the information, we would love to see you come on these dates and discuss with us.
are you
And as
guys,
an added benefit, all of those meetings are also live streamed.
nice, excellent. That's true, so, for their, one last thing, what about, you know, we're promoting this as a listening session, are you prepared for other topics to come up besides the facilities plan? I mean, families, people may bring up other things, are we gonna be open to talking about anything they wanna talk about, or are we just
I would
focused on the
love to
facilities
focus
plan?
these on the facilities study, but if they have questions that we can help them with, we'll certainly take those and get back to them. And Audrey's also working on some coffees with the superintendent in all of the attendance areas and some things like that too. So to make sure we promote those. And, you know, those are more open, whatever you want to talk about. I'd like to keep these mostly focused on the facility study. But if the question comes up, we'll take it and make sure we reach back out to them.
And then you can always redirect them toward the coffee chat or whatever like that, if we get off on a tangent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions on this? All right, we are transitioning now to something that is very fun, and that is Audrey and the logo
Do we want to
presentation.
let our
Yes,
guests
y'all are.
go?
Guys, y'all are, unless you're wanting to see our new logo. Thank you, y'all, thank y'all so much. It's a lot of work on your part. Thank you again.
I'll get you a brownie.
Yeah, get a brownie to go.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, if you go out that door, there's fruit and brownies.
Thank y'all.
See ya.
Thanks.
See y'all tomorrow. It seemed like every day the last 4 days.
Sorry, I'm working both of the. Right into the aluminum. Oh, there you go. All right. So some of this you guys have already seen, but we're going to touch base, kind of review it before we head into the logo. We spent a great deal of time working with a lot of people on our branding and our identity of who Darlington County School District is. We talked to parents, students, principals, teachers, board members. We had focus groups, we did surveys. And so all of that was pulled together in a series of meetings, and that's where we came up with what we are. So what we decided is that a foundation for everything that we are doing, we are empowering every student to reach their full potential through courage, commitment, and compassion. Who we are as an organization, our organizational traits, we are empowering to help others find their paths. Path is a key word that we're going to talk about a lot. Challenging, we are not afraid to challenge limitations or expectations. Visionary, courageous, and inclusive. And I will tell you that going through the process and having a third party identify all of these traits as Darlington County School District really made me quite proud. Our unique characteristics, and I've given this to you, but we are the voice for the needs of others, fueled by strong convictions of what is right and needed. We see the need to help and serve each individual. We don't see walls, but windows of possibility. We are active on many levels, and we do whatever is needed for the benefit of our students. We demonstrate compassion and strength. We don't accept no, but always search for the answers. Demonstrate optimism in actions and relationships. And we're willing to challenge the status quo and conventional ideas for the benefit of our students. So when we look at this, we talk about the golden circle, and the golden circle is why. It actually starts down here. The outside circle is what. Well, everybody knows who we are or what we offer, how we offer it, and then why we offer it. Our why, our purpose, is delivering on the promise of excellence in education, engaging every student deeply to open doors for opportunity. How? We're going to benefit from diversity, think beyond the typical, and explore innovative solutions that meet each learner's needs. And what? We are going to remove our barriers to learning and provide rigorous, high-quality instruction that prepares students for lasting success. We also identified our brand values: academic pursuit, excellence, innovation, and partnership. And I'm not going to read all of this. You have it with you, but academic pursuit, excellence, innovation, and partnership. These are the things that we very much value. We talk about our brand personality or our voice. And the personality is that Darlington County School District as a whole, we refuse to let obstacles limit the future of our students. We are relentless in pursuing what is best for our students. We are empowering. We believe in removing barriers, opening doors, and creating opportunities and conditions where students can take charge of their learning, discover their purpose, and move boldly toward their future. We are purposeful, rooted in data, driven by integrity, and centered on the whole child. Our work is intentional and focused on specific learning needs of each student. We're determined to bring academic success for all. And then empathetic, we meet every student with compassion where they are, recognizing their potential, supporting their journey with respect, encouragement, and heart. Our tone, again, we are committed, we are authentic, we are bold, and we are compassionate. The tone is the way that we communicate with our community, with our parents. We are as authentic and as transparent as can be. We are compassionate, we are committed, we speak with conviction, and we say this is what we are doing. Ms. Gore was talking about how we communicate to our parents when we're talking about the presentation. So we're going to speak in an authentic voice, we're going to talk about bold ideas, we're committed, and we're compassionate. All of this wraps up into the power of each, and this is the core of our storytelling. Each is a powerful word in Darlington County School District. Each student comes to us with their own name, personality, story, and learning needs, and each brings their own vision for their future. We honor the individuality of each learner while embracing shared responsibility and commitment to ensure each learner's journey is one of growth, opportunity, success, and achievement. We are united by the relentless belief that each child can rise above circumstance and overcome obstacles to reach excellence. We surround every student with strong teaching and bold expectations and a community that sees the power of each. We've already started using this each idea when we talk about each child every day. You'll see more of this as we talk about each story, each child, each success. And so we're going to be building more on the power of each. This helped us build this idea of where our logo is going to go. So we're talking about bold. We want something that's bold, that something identifies Darlington County as who we are. But we also had to throw another area into that and something that perhaps set us aside so that when you saw our logo, you saw who Darlington County was, or you knew who Darlington County was. And so some of those ideas that you see presented today are significantly different than the first group that I brought to you. I'm very, very excited about this group. They tried to encompass that. I'm going to show you a couple of them. I'm going to show you quite a few, actually. Okay? So this is number one. You see we have the D for Darlington County. We have the apple for education. I know that some folks really wanted to see an apple built into it. But when you say, hey, where are you from? A lot of times you say Darlington, you know, the place with the racetrack. People know Darlington Raceway. They know us as that. So this is one way to give us an identity that sends it across. Again, it's bold. You've got the apple for education, and then the path to success.
Is NASCAR going to give us some royalties for that?
I'm not, nothing out here says NASCAR or Raceway. This is another option, again, playing on that idea, but this time it's a little bit different. We're focusing, instead of an apple, we have a graduation cap, because the path from Darlington leads to graduation and success. So we have a book, nice and bold, clean look. We have tried to keep it to no more than 3 colors, but ideally 2 colors. That is our solution. And then we start moving into something a little bit differently. So again, we have the bold DC, the DC for Darlington County, so that gives us a bigger, wider brand. You have the cap, which is graduation, obviously, something that we're looking for, academic success. But we were talking about this morning. If you will note, you actually have a person or a student. It's kind of woo. So you have G. Oh, G. There we go. Woo! Woo! Look at that. All right. Well, so get back to my student here. I got all excited. So then we have this one. Okay. So you can see how it would look on an embroidery, for example, and then there. And I apologize, I lost my inverse color here, but this is another one. This time it's the same idea, the student, the graduate, the DC, Darlington County, the graduate, and that gives you a little touch, a small touch, of who we are with the racetrack. Then we played a little bit on the idea of a graduate. I will tell you that there was some concern that this tends to be a little bit more used in terms of using a DC as a very clear person in that manner. So that is one thing to be aware of. But those are unique images, so. And then something a little bit different. Giving you 6 different logos. Thoughts?
I mean, I could give you my opinion. Is
Sure.
that what you want?
Sure.
I mean, I'm leaning toward 3 and 4. With the like
1,
1, 2, 3, 4.
and 4. 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like number 1.
I kind of like 1 too, because I think it's an updated version. It kind of has a piece of our old, but it is updated, and it's certainly bold.
I can see that.
Yeah, I like 1 too.
I like 1 and 2.
I mean, they're all very cool.
Yeah,
I mean, I like the.
They're all much better than the last one.
DC, I'm just struggling with the D. It just bothers me. That
Yeah,
it's-
that
This
is
D here?
Yeah.
Would it be better like that?
No, just without.
It is.
Being a D, yeah, being a D without.
It looks
the line.
like 2 C's.
Yeah.
Oh, does it?
I
Okay.
get it.
Somebody else
It's-
pointed that out.
I mean, like almost if the tassel went all the way down to complete it as a D,
We
if
could
it
work
looked more
on
like
that.
a D, that might
yeah.
be, I mean, I don't hate that one with, if the tassel was like the line in the D.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't like the little circle.
The last two,
I'm not-
That's
No,
kinda
and
bothering
this
me with
one,
the little
no?
bit,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're looking at these 4.
How do we make a decision on this? Is this something that goes to? like-
What we talked about
I
is,
just think that looks bold.
That looks
I like
good
that.
there.
I like that.
I like that too.
I just think that looks,
Do we get to decide this, or this goes to committees or out to?
Well, you
how do
have
we-
final decision.
you have final decision making, is we thought we would show it to y'all first, and then if y'all were okay with it, maybe getting input from staff, students, folks to say, what they thought,
I
and
mean,
then.
who put these together, like artistic, I mean, like.
Not me.
So I mean, like, is it a?
We
so
work with a
how big of
graphic-
We have a
deal
graphic
is it to
designer.
go
We have
back
the
to-
artist.
So you'd have to go back to a graphic artist and say,
The person
change
we're
that and
working
bring the
with
tassel
is
down to make it, I mean,
not
they would have to
charging us.
redo the image.
They're not charging us to do this, and so they would work with us to do that. if we
She's also
needed.
incredibly patient. So we can.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't want to, I mean, somebody's doing that for free, I don't want to ask them to go through a lot more trouble, but I just,
I don't see the
I'm sorry, I was
raceway
going-
in that one, I mean, I would question why that little,
well, it
The
looks
little
more like,
checkered.
The checker was in
it's
that
the apple thing, I feel like in
I mean-
that, but it doesn't really look like it in the other one.
go back to, that just kind of
Now, I will say,
looks,
the apple and the leaf and the
There's more colors.
thing will actually be one color, and I think we fixed that in.
Yeah, because every time you print it, right?
There.
I mean, it
So
matters.
So that's
yeah.
what it'll actually
Yep.
look
Yeah.
Yeah.
like.
I like that one a lot.
I like that a lot too.
Yeah, I like moving away from the red.
Yeah, I mean, we're away from the
I like the
red, but we're
greens, huh?
still kind of,
I agree. It's a neutral. It's not. And
It's
none of
a-
our schools
it's
or
a-
none of the high schools
A
have that.
fresh new look.
it is, but I mean, it's a fresh of our old.
Yeah, you got a little bit of both.
So, knowing that you have final say, do you want me to send out perhaps these top 4 and get thoughts and feedback from folks? or
And to adjust the
And
cap
adjusting the
gown
flag.
with more of a D.
Yeah.
the tassel?
I mean, I was the only one that said I liked that. But there's only 5 of us here too. There's not the
I don't get it.
whole
I really like those two.
Second one-
You like the 2 that I liked?
So,
Okay.
Uh-huh.
the second one, I'm just not, if the the swoosh came more from like behind the cap instead of out the middle of it like that, like it does on the D. I wouldn't be against that one, like the idea of the cap and tassel, but
Mr. Govan's 2 and 3. He's watching this online.
He's voting. Well, I mean, I sort of like the idea of getting other people's input because this impacts a lot of people and it'd be nice, I mean, to see what they, like, maybe somebody sees something
except when
different
they
that we
come
don't
back
see,
with
you
the
know?
complete opposite of what we like, and then we're like, oh, we didn't like those, but.
Well, if we only present them with the ones we
doing
like,
four.
then, you know, if we
And
do
actually,
3
if
or
you want
4.
to pick between
I would
these
go with
two,
the top one then.
The
not
top 3.
one.
so send out the top 3 and just get their thoughts
And maybe ask her
feedback.
to, could she adjust?
And I can see about adjusting.
It's that one, and then the other, I do agree with Leanne on the middle one, like
So
if,
that
like
the
it's,
swish goes more like that?
Yeah.
or like sort of from behind
From
the,
behind it.
it's like
and
instead of,
going
in-
out, yeah.
I don't know,
So
maybe
it's kinda
weird coming
play
out
with
the
it a
top
little
of it
bit
like
and
that.
see, I don't know. But yeah, maybe they're sending those 3 out. I do sort of like the idea of 4.
I like
It does, it
number
gives you a
one,
little
but-
bit of a touch of the, but not so much as the other one.
I bet the reason it comes through the D is that the path to graduation comes through Darlington.
Yep.
But I don't know that artistically it looks good. I bet that's
No,
why
no, I
she
mean, I
chose
like it going through the D, it's the top of it.
I got you.
Well, where's it, it comes from an apple in the other one? I mean,
Yeah, I don't know that that worked in that one.
Oh, I see,
Yeah,
like
it-
graduation through Darlington,
I
like
think
that's where
why
that's.
the idea.
Okay, well, I mean,
was.
I'm cool with it. I mean, I like them, they're all very nice.
Now, this one's a little bit different. What we're trying to, what we're trying to do is there's 2 key parts. We need to have, I keep doing that, I'm so sorry. We need to have the long logo, that would be, for example, letterhead, big things, sometimes presentations, stuff like that. This is a favicon, and it would be more toward social media, if you do sometimes embroidery, those kind of things. This would be your business card, and this would be a little bit different. You could pull this there. The problem is there's nothing here with a D in it that does D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I just did that, there's no D to identify it.
This person knows more than I do about graphic, so I'm fine with whatever, yeah.
I like number 1 with absolutely no adjustment.
That's me.
I mean, I think it looks normal and good and all in one color. I mean, I think it works for the single logo, it works for the longer logo.
So you have the path, you have the apple, you have the D.
I have the racetrack, yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to point out you have the DC on this one, so it's Darlington County, not just Darlington. So you've got
But it
both of
looks like
those, or
CC.
DC. But if we can adjust it,
If you adjust
then it may
that,
be.
yeah.
For that matter, if you're not that concerned about the person, you could just put a line for the D.
Because do you want to just be Darlington?
What's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that?
Darlington County.
Because we're Darlington
County, we're not Darlington City.
Yeah, we are, some of us.
Well, some of us, but not all of us.
Yeah.
I just don't know, that just stands out. The colors are bright.
So,
are y'all okay if we?
Eliminate
y'all
the
want-
bottom row.
Eliminate
yep, bottom row's
those
gone.
and put it out for folks to give feedback on?
Sure.
Yeah.
As long as
Did
they
you
we
want
can
this one or
ultimately-
this one?
Keep that one.
Keep that one?
I mean, it
No.
doesn't, you miss that it's supposed to be like an apple thing on down here with the checkered. I'm assuming that's what that's supposed to be, right?
That's how I saw it, is that this is half of an apple with the core.
Yeah, it looks like the apple stem up there, but it doesn't down there, it just looks weird. Because it's checkered.
So if we put out the top 3 and get
Mhm.
some feedback,
With the adjustments, yes.
I mean, I think it's worth getting some feedback myself, but I mean,
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
we ultimately get to decide, right, so.
Well, that was fun, that was a lot.
That was more fun.
That was, that last round was,
What? I think it's exciting, the new schools.
No.
The last
Oh,
round.
the last
of
round of,
logos.
I thought you meant the last round of stuff we talked about. I was like.
No, the last round of logos.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, good.
Barbara, do you want to do Hall of Fame?
If I can figure out how do I unhook this again?
You trying to change or just?
I just want to make sure, okay, I'm still hooking me on that, and I just wanted to make it not me.
Turn it off.
There you go, that works for me. That's still on mine. I'm gonna turn off my computer now.
I'm trying to unhook her from that. Where are our technology people?
While the experts are doing that, let me talk to you briefly about the Hall of Fame. We're very, very excited. We are moving forward on the Hall of Fame. We have come up with a tentative date of June 16th. And if that is suitable for everybody, then we will move forward. And we know that we can get Coker College for that date.
Did we, we've notified all the honorees,
Yes,
and that date works for all of them.
it appears to.
And we're gonna do it where at Coker? At the gym or at the auditorium?
Auditorium. The theater.
The theater, yeah, that's
Yes.
what I was thinking, yeah, that's what I meant. Good. That'll be nice.
Okay. If that doesn't work for you, we have an alternative date, but it's in April and it would require us to go to SIMT. So are we good with June 16th?
Whatever works for our honorees.
All right, thank you.
All right, you ready to talk about Darlington County Economic Development Strategic Plan?
Next, yep, absolutely.
So y'all, I know that was a very long document with a lot of very interesting information. I learned a lot, and I think they did a really good job, but I wanted to highlight for you, if you had not had a chance to read all of it yet, where the overlap with the school district is, and to remind you that we are going on March the 30th to the legislative, Darlington County Legislative Dinner, and the county is hosting that night, and their plan for that night is for all of the entities to come together and talk about the strategic plan and where the overlap with our body is and how we can support Darlington County economic development. So the first thing that you will notice, if you have read this or if you are yet to read it, is that the and I will give y'all this so that you have it, but on page 2.2 and 2.8, there is a very specific call out for the school district to work on building out strong career pipelines that are aligned to local industry demand. And they are very specific, and I think they are in line with where we've been thinking about DCIT to focus on the skilled trades. They specifically call out HVAC. They also talk about plumbing at another area in the plan, but they talk about in our economic landscape that the skilled trades is where the vast majority of our new jobs are going to come from. And so they ask us as a district to think about pipeline pathways for kids to have those skills as they come out of high school. They also talk about in here and give the district credit, so this is credit to all of you, for the workforce development work that we have been doing with Keys to Career, with Ascend, and Career Time Tuesday. An interesting nugget that I found as I was working on this presentation is that last year's graduating class, there was nearly 28% of our graduating class that had a work-based learning opportunity. The national average is 4%. So Darlington County, through Keys to Career, Ascend, Career Time Tuesday, has really built that pipeline to offer more than a quarter of our kids an opportunity, where less than 4% of kids nationwide has that same opportunity.
Can I just interject that the one trade pathway that they talked about, you know, like you said, construction, but also, and we'll get to it, but just keep that in mind that housing in our community is one of the big So not only that, like they can stay here and help build us houses.
Can we get Ms. Gerke to roll up in here with us? So she
Sure.
could- Since we're hitting
I'm
on.
taking good notes, I promise.
On that too, which I think is a very interesting piece of this, is it does a Darlington County specific labor market analysis, and that starts at 6.2 through 6.9. And, I think that as we think about DCIT, as we think about pathways, the economic development plan really looks at where we need to be thinking as we plan out workforce needs in Darlington County. So as an example, I often hear from parents, I often hear from community members that they would love, for example, a cosmetology course at DCIT. Cosmetology is not a workforce need if we look at the labor market analysis. And as, I was talking recently to Dr. Ford at Florence Darlington Technical College, and they've also recognized that as they think about their programming. So we don't have to necessarily build our own programming at DCIT. We can partner where it makes sense, but as we think about adding new programs in our areas, we really need to look closely at that labor market analysis to say we are building pathways where there are jobs in Darlington County, which I think we have been doing, but this gives us some really specific analysis of Darlington County's job market for how we do that. The other piece, which kind of spoke to my heart because I love school ratings, y'all know that, but it talked about the emphasis that school performance directly influences business recruitment and retention. And so it laid out a chart of how Darlington County schools are rated. I'm going to quibble a little bit about the methodology that it used to rate those schools because that is not the state accountability model. It's a pretty random private company, third party that does niche ratings, but the realtors love it. And when you are building a house or buying a house, buying land, that's usually what folks see. And so how do we maximize our ratings on niche? But school ratings and our competitiveness really does matter. And academic achievement is not just an educational priority, it's an economic strategy. And that, I think, comes into that next piece that I wanted to, was really fascinating to me in this, is that if you look at the survey of the Darlington County residents in this plan, that is on 7.4, the strength, the number one strength is education. The number one challenge, if you go down a paragraph, is education. And so the breakdown of that by demographic is important for us to recognize and really think hard and long about. That is, if you're looking at our older population, our retirees, they generally are very positive about the education system in Darlington. But if we break that out and we look at our more affluent, our Hartsville residents, and our business owners, they identify education as one of our number one challenges. So it's both our top strength and our top challenge, depending on which subgroup of the population we are addressing. And so I think that is a call to us, and it's something that you all have talked about, that we've been talking about. How do we tell our story? And they call that out on the second page or the fourth page about how many of the folks in Darlington County don't necessarily know the great things that are happening in the county at large, but in the education system specifically. So one example that they give is, if you look at niche, if you are accepting niche's ratings, Darlington County is ranked in the top 25% of school districts in the state, but our folks don't know that. The folks who responded to this survey don't necessarily know that and say that education is a great challenge. And so how do we continue to tell our story and make sure that we are focused on excellence in teaching and learning for each child every day, but we're also telling the story about how we're not just a choice, we're the best choice. And so as I read through the Economic Development Strategic Plan, this is the overlap that I saw, and I wanted to point those themes out to y'all, but I'm sure you have all read it and also have thoughts, so want to
Well,
give
we've
you.
always had a perception problem that we need to change. We
Right.
talked about this for years, and we need to get our word out there, need to get our story out there.
I think, to me, and we've talked about this a lot,
Yeah.
Warren and I in particular honed on this, is I was kind of looking at the demographics a lot, and the change in demographics was very interesting in that, which I think this feeds into what our challenge is that we have a lot more affluent, that population has grown. But I think if we roll this back to when some of this perception problem came, I think it started with the pandemic. And I think when we were going through, half the people were mad at us all the time. When we were closing, or when we were doing the things that we were doing, we had private schools who were staying open, and that's where our affluent population should go. And I think that's where we picked up some of this reputation then, and I think we've just got to turn that corner back around.
I think that's somewhat true, but I think we've had that perception in our.
It wasn't when my
for a
kids,
long
it was
time.
not when my kids went through.
Okay, well, when mine did 15 years ago, it was definitely,
We've had it for a while.
when I started, I mean, there was definitely, but the other thing, it's not really, when I was looking at the demographics, there's a little movement in the demographics as far as like socioeconomic, but also just older people are moving here and young people are leaving.
And
I
that
mean,
may be some
and
of why
that's
the
probably
demographics
true.
are what the demographics are.
Right, that's what I'm thinking, is like, that's why it looks like more affluent people here. It's not necessarily they're moving in, it's that the people that are older that have amassed more money over time and the young people are leaving. You know, I mean, I wondered, I mean, I don't know, I'm not an expert in demographics, but from what I was reading, I was like, what really stood out to me was what we've talked about for years, that young people are leaving. A, we need to give them jobs. They need to be able to have a job and be able to come back here. For one, and I mean, they talked a lot about, you know, this is something, they said no one entity is going to be able to do this
Right.
alone. We have to do it in partnership with all of the municipalities and the county. So I think that it's really important that we maybe work on that strategy of how to communicate and do this, whether we do it through our economic development office and let them facilitate through the other, you know, or how we do that, because they talk about, you know, we need housing, we need things for people to do, we need, you know, it's like it's an ecosystem you have to build, and it's like you can do one or the other. I think building these new schools, like, I think that's part of the story. You know, if we want to grow our, you know, because I don't know, when you talk to people of my age, my kids are in college, and even when I talk to my kids, like the kids that went, like my kids are in college right now, when they talk about the kids that they're meeting that went to school in bigger cities, they're like, Mom, did you know that they could do X, Y, Z? You know, like, did you know that they had classes in this? Like, I never could have had that, you know? So some of it's telling our story, but some of it's competing with big cities that can do things that we aren't doing.
Right.
You know, could we consider doing those things, or do we want to compete? You know, I mean, there's just it's very complex, but like we need to engage with our other partners so that we can be part of that.
And because on that, like, you know, the housing piece is certainly, as we recruit into Darlington County for teachers, that is usually an issue. But, you know, on that too, Audrey and Chris are actually filming today for a video that goes on to the economic development site to say, this is Darlington County, this is what our school system is. Come look at the great things that we have, to help market through their website, but also a recruiting video to say this is what's great about Darlington County and why we choose to teach and live here. Because we do have to prepare kids, not just to be successful in life, but how do we make sure they can be successful in life and stay in Darlington County?
And stay here.
And we can't
Come
do
back
that by
here.
ourselves.
Can I put you on the spot, Ms. Gary?
Sure.
Can I, because a lot of this workforce development is in our skilled label, blue-collar skilled labor is one of the things, areas they identify. Can you speak to your vision of a DCIT?
So what's interesting is not knowing that HVAC and plumbing were two of the biggest pipelines that needed to be added. That was actually one of the first things I talked about in my interview as two of the areas that I see that we need to be able to step in and add. I think a partnership with Florence Darlington Tech that already has some of the facilities until we can get there. Like, we haven't been partnering with Florence Darlington Tech on the DCIT side as much as we used to. And there were reasons for that, but I think getting back to some of those partnerships could get some kids over to programs that maybe we don't have where we can offer yet, but we can get there. So I'm actually going over Thursday to spend some time at DCIT and get into some classrooms. And I've started getting documents shared with me and looking into stuff. So early on, yes, I think there's some programs that I would love to see added quickly, but we also have to look at what is the facility capable of and look at what programs are being really successful right now and which ones maybe we need to make some adjustments to.
And on that too, I think on the, that is a beautiful building that has a lot of resources that sits empty every day after 4 o'clock. And so how do we make sure that we can partner with our adult ed so that it's not just a GED or not just, work keys training, it is work keys training or a GED paired with a welding certificate that where we have the bays that sit empty every afternoon.
I saw that in here too. They talked about adult education and why not only do we need to serve our
Retraining.
not only do we need to serve our students, but we need to serve our serve education for our adults in this county better.
And then you think about the new Florence Darlington Tech site that is coming to Hartsville. Like, how do we make sure there's
Partner
not
with them.
duplication of services and programs there?
And more of a partnership.
And if there is, like, could we send kids? Should we be sending kids there during the day in the county so that we're not trying to build where they have facilities?
Exactly. How can
Because
we
we don't have to do
synergize?
this alone. We need to pair where we're weak and build where we're not.
Absolutely. There's opportunities, like you both have said, that maybe people don't see that we're offering X, like the big cities. Maybe it's not in every high school, but it's available to our students, and we find a creative way to make it available to them.
And I can already see a difference from being with my kids next door. I can already see a difference of the impact that the earlier exposure is having. I think that's such a key part. So many of our kids don't even know what the job opportunities are. And if we're waiting till we get them to high school to figure that out, it doesn't matter what we offer at DCIT, they're not going to sign up for it, right? So we've got to get that exposure. I'm already seeing that impact.
I'm so glad. And one of the big things the workforce development talked about is how do we get that what's the plan that they have to?
The IGP.
The IGP, yes. How do you make the IGP an actually really useful tool? Instead of a checkbox. How in middle school or even in elementary school, as they go into middle school, that 5th grade cohort, as they're going in, they're starting to consider those things. How do you make that an actual really good, because it has good intentions. If it could be used properly, you really could help kids figure those pathways out.
And Ms. Gerke does not know yet, but that is like one of the top things on her list of to-dos as she transitions into that new position, is to think about how do we, because you don't start an IGP now until the end of middle school. How do you grow that lower into middle school and make that a more meaningful document where we are planning intentionally way earlier in the process?
And partnering, that business, I was really proud reading through this. I didn't read every single word. I skimmed most of it. I read some parts of it. But I was really proud that our workforce development efforts show up in here quite a few times as like a shining light of something that the county's doing well. And that was really great. And that team has a lot of ideas about how to get counselors involved and how to get IGP working the way that they really should. And, DCIT, partnering DCIT, there's just so much that team has done and so many more ideas that they still have that they would like to go for. So.
There's also been a really good shift for parent perspective. And more recently, for a long time, every kid had to go to a 4-year college. Every kid, that's what was expected. And it took a long time for that opinion to shift on a parent perspective, too, when you're sitting in an IGP or sitting in a counseling session with a parent to say, this is what your kid is passionate about, this is what your kid is good at, this is where those skills sit. Like a 4-year pathway doesn't always have to be that. And that shift has been happening too.
And how
But
do
I-
we show up for success in life?
But I think the other thing is kids have to understand why they're taking what they're taking. And I think often, I mean, that if you're going into construction, you sure better understand geometry. I mean, and you know, infractions and why you have to do some of this. And so I think pairing, seeing if you have an idea which way you're going. If you're going this way, these are these courses that actually mean something. This isn't just checking off your Carnegie units. These will be applicable.
Are we still doing that? I know there was like the alternative pathways that Dr. Newman was working on, and I just haven't paid it. Like where, like instead of having to go through the typical like, what is it, like algebra 2, geometry, like that.
So the state
like,
has opened up 2 non-college prep math units that are more data science focused, real world applicable, and we are offering those. But it's not construction math. And like in some ways, I think we do have to do a better job of connecting algebra 1 or geometry to the real world. And sometimes I think that comes from having those work experiences to be able to say, oh, this is what geometry looks like in real life.
Right, getting them to DCIT. Maybe it's not in the geometry class, but it's paired with, another class where it makes sense. But because I thought we were doing something where we were allowing some kids to do dual credit at Florence Darlington Tech to allow them to meet some of their
Not in the tech
credits.
space, so that's something we want to look
couldn't
at. But
remember.
like we should be, in my opinion, doing more with our technical dual credit. We have done a lot with Florence Darlington Tech and other colleges on our academic dual credit, but we have not done the work to pair on the technical side, which is how we can pretty quickly expand
Yeah, exactly.
programs.
Expand what we're offering through them. Of course, that costs us money, right? Like when we work when dual credits, that's something I didn't
It
know. The
doesn't,
dual credits
though. Well,
cost
that's-
the county money or no?
Well, it does on the academic side, but there's a lot more state funding that is available on the technical
Oh,
dual
interesting.
credit. It's covered through some of the workforce money, and that doesn't cover your English 1 through Florence Darlington Tech, but it does cover your HVAC through Florence
Oh,
Darlington
interesting.
Tech.
Oh,
And
that's
just
cool.
thinking about our population, for example, I see one hurdle for that we might just have to think about is the transportation, right? So not every kid's so are we running all the buses to DCIT, or are we running some to the new center in Hartsville or to Florence Darlington
Right.
Tech?
And we want all our kids in the whole county to have access to those things, not just certain schools, so.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah. Very cool.
So what is our conversation supposed to look like when we meet with the county? I mean, what was their intent in giving us this early?
I think when we show up on March 30th, they're going to want us to say and be able to say, we agree that expanding pathways in the trades is a good idea, and that is something we're looking at DCIT, and that's a direct overlap. I think they want us to be able, and I think we should say, we are not doing that because people are interested in this pathway. We're doing that based on a market analysis of what the jobs are in Darlington County. I think we have to own and say, report cards matter, and the academic outcomes of our schools reflect on the economic viability of us being able to attract folks to move into Darlington County. And that we heard you on the survey analysis, and that we know that there are mixed feelings out there, and we're gonna, by God, do a better job telling our story and being proactive and reaching out and highlighting how we're not only a choice, we think we're the best choice, and we are providing excellence in education, excellence in teaching and learning for each child every day.
And
I think that's what they want.
But I always like, what is one ask that we can work on and immediately show that we're delivering?
well, we are committed to the workforce development program.
Well, we've been that. I'm just
I mean,
asking for.
is there growth
what
there
is
that they
one-
want?
I don't think so. So working, and I say that, working with the education subcommittee of progress, I think that the idea right now is that we are likely at capacity.
And just trying to make it better.
How do we make it better before trying to expand it?
Okay.
Like, we are expanding next year in maybe offering some summer programming, offering some after-school or morning programming for kids who are in IB, the early college, the biomedical, Mayo for AP, so that they can get some of those workforce internships after school, not just during the school day. Because it's really hard for those kids in particular to be able to fit one more class into their schedule. But I think we can look and say we are looking at HVAC and plumbing. I don't know that we're going to be ready to do that in the fall.
But that we're committed to DCIT. We're committed to the workforce development program. We're committed to partnering. I think that's an important one we need to show up and say.
Right.
Like, we're committed to partnering. The people in this county's terrible at partnering.
Yeah, I wanna hear what they got to say about what they're gonna do. They got a
Exactly,
whole
we're
lot-
open
They got
to-
a whole lot more to do than we do.
Yeah, we're open to partnership. How can we help you? You know, and we're doing all these things. What are you doing? And then also, I mean, we can highlight things like can we highlight the Brunson Dargan property yet? Or is that not, like, we're helping with housing possibly there. We're not, but that's still a little,
Yeah, but we're not doing the housing.
well, no, we're not doing it, but I mean, maybe that's not ready for further discussion, sorry. Potentially.
I think that the city of Darlington perhaps may show up and say that they are interested in making Darlington a more livable, walkable green space. And
Right.
that a part of their pitch may be potentially what happens at the Brunson Dargan property. And so I wonder if that will come up from Darlington City in that conversation, because that will be how they are working to make more housing available, making Darlington a more vibrant place for people to move
But
to.
that is a partnership that we're working on figuring out.
Right.
The city of Hartsville, how engaged are they in this new high school? How much is the city of Hartsville, like city council and the mayor, and how are we
We
leveraging
have
them?
reached out, we've gone to city council in Hartsville, invited them out to the meeting. I've had some conversations with folks around, who are just asking questions. I think they're in the listening and learn stage of that. I know that there are some folks who are really interested in Hartsville High being in Hartsville City, and this plan will not have Hartsville High in the city limits of Hartsville. But I also think there's a way that we can position that as a good thing for Hartsville, because the property that Hartsville High currently sits on does not produce tax revenue for the city of Hartsville.
Housing, it could be all sorts of
Opens up
things.
that plot for future development, but I think Hartsville City, would need to be engaged and willing to partner in how that looks how that looks in the future.
Brand new high school in Hartsville, regardless of where it ends up, is a great thing for Hartsville.
Those
I
people
think
love
so.
Kelly
So,
Brown. They love
I mean, I
Kelly
feel
Brown.
like that's partnership. I think we need to emphasize that we're open to partner.
There's nowhere in the city of Hartsville to put a high school and
No.
all that stuff. They'll be fine. I think they'll be all right with that. We'll get past that.
I hope so.
I mean, we can't put it where it is now, so that's not
It's
even an
landlocked,
option.
it's not an option.
It's not even an option. Like, you want that or you want a new school?
Back to our building with accountability.
Yeah.
Currently, we are looking at only building on property that we own, so we do not have to purchase
Mhm.
property, because
Right.
that's what held us up a lot the last time when we were looking, and it's expensive.
Sure.
And the land prep
And there's
that you have to do, the
availability
additional
also.
work you have to do.
Because we were looking at, when the paint piece came up, as this is not an option, like, we were like, what can we do? And, we looked at options, but like the Darlington Middle School parcel of land has enough to fit the elementary school. It's in that attendance zone, and we already own it.
I mean, all of our proposals are on land we own.
Correct.
We're not leaving behind, we're not buying new property and leaving behind things that are, yeah. it was really interesting at the convention. Orangeburg talked about the stuff that they had done with, their three districts were consolidated and they had to do a lot of infrastructure moving, and they had some really interesting ideas of partnerships that they have done. I think they had 6 different buildings that they had partnered with in the county, and they had 3 more in the works that were, partnerships with, and I don't know the specifics, but it was, how can you use these old buildings for the benefit of communities? And I think, yeah, anyway, that's a part of the story too that I'm sure will come up.
If they start building the elementary school next to DCIT, can I just send my students over there to get their internships while they're building? The electricians, the plumbers, they can all go.
Hey, that's.
You got the elementary,
Real
middle,
life
and
on the job, there you go.
On the job training.
But I do think a key piece of this is going to be communication with DCIT. I think there's going to have to be a good, I'm not telling you how to do your job, I'm just going to say we're going to need a strong partnership there in communication.
Well, and
And there
in
has
that,
been.
Now,
like
that crew's
one.
very used to working with me. I've been working with them since the gym renovation.
I'm talking about in
Yeah.
implementing
Yeah.
the aspects of
economic
this.
Because
of
one
economic
thing too
development.
that I didn't talk to y'all about, so maybe I should have. And so I apologize before I say what I'm about to say. But in the rewriting the job description for DCIT this last time, I rewrote some of those to talk about a more district approach to career readiness and DCIT being the lead in that. So for example, right now, we have career development facilitators at all of our high schools. We have career development facilitators at all of our middle schools. They currently do their own thing at each of those sites. And so as the reimagining of the job description at DCIT is, how do we bring a systemic Darlington County School District approach to middle school career development? How do we bring a Darlington County system approach to career development at the high schools? And so you may be living at Darlington High School, but you will be implementing a program that is consistent at Darlington, Hartsville, Lamar, and how does that connect with DCIT, and how are we building out those IGPs in 6th and 7th grade and preparing that for the counselors who come in high school?
And how does that even feed down to the elementary?
Right.
Just because you're at a middle or high doesn't mean those feeder schools that are coming into you are not extremely important.
Right.
Yeah. And how do you get all your people? This is something that a workforce group has talked about so many times, because everybody's corporate, right? So, how do you get everybody speaking the same language and like on board and understanding what the opportunities are, so that every kid in the county gets the same opportunities?
DCIT sets us apart from any other school in the county. Any private school,
Yep.
charter school, whatever. We've got something nobody else has,
Correct.
And
and we need to utilize it.
Yes, sir.
And Warren Jeffords has spoken.
Amen.
well, it's true. You're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
Well, and on that, y'all, I just wanted to start the conversation. To your point, what do we do with this? If we have until March 30th, we will have a board meeting between them, but I wanted to highlight it during work session and point out some areas as you start reading this 90-page document, and come with thoughts before we go to the March 30th meeting.
The last thing I'll say about this is that, we're not the only rural county that has a lot of really, all of South Carolina, if you looked at the South Carolina demographics, people are retiring here. Even along the coast in the areas that have huge booms, it's older people that are moving here. But that really hits the rural communities more, because the young people that are here are going where the
Moving there,
opportunities
too.
are, or they're either moving there too, or they're moving to the cities. So we're not the only county that struggles with this, and I'm curious what some, maybe our economic development team at the county can share some of what they have learned from other counties, not only in our state, but maybe in the country. What are other counties doing
Right.
to fight that, or to try to manage that? Because we're not
Randy,
alone.
think they're still figuring it out. But I think it's a good question, but I don't know.
Are there other ideas we could borrow from, is what I'm saying, you know? Let's not, you don't always have to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes you can just find other people's good ideas and try to implement them yourself.
Anything else on this, y'all? I've got two more short things. One is, I was gonna get Renee to do it so she can jump in if she needs me, but I wanna give her a shout out. She has been working very diligently and I think has identified a good auditor who will take us on this year. So we will be bringing that in March at the board meeting because policy says that the board has to approve that selection, but we have vetted this person. This person has vetted us, and we think it is a good match. They came highly recommended from some other neighboring districts, and they didn't really have capacity, but they accepted us and took on more capacity to be able to serve us. And so Renee's been really working that process, and we'll bring that to you for a vote in March. And then we will also be bringing up a cleanup provision on the calendar because we inadvertently, by mistake, left off Juneteenth as a holiday on the 2027, 28. And so most of our calendars have 2 days in for Easter break for district office staff, for our full year staff. We put an extra day on the April Easter break. We will be moving that holiday to Juneteenth in the summer. That is something that has been on our calendars the last few years. We left it off by mistake. We had it pointed out to us, and we will be bringing that to you as a correction at the March meeting. But just wanted to talk and let you know that that's why we just approved the calendar, but we're bringing back another calendar. And that's all I have.
Anybody else have anything they wished to discuss? Do we have a need for an executive session?
Where's my gavel? I'll take a motion to adjourn. I get a second.
Second.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? We are.